I am afraid of roller coasters. There it is. I said it. I said it out loud. Everybody's aware of that. The last time I was on a roller coaster, the experience was not a good one for me or the person sitting next to me. And it was a baby roller coaster. It wasn't one of those big ones at the theme park. It was just a baby roller coaster. And there I was screaming my head off. And I was so afraid. And the person next to me was laughing uncontrollably at my discomfort, my pain, because I was afraid. I got off that roller coaster and I decided and determined in that moment I would never go back on another roller coaster. And I haven't. And chances are I probably never will. How many of you are on the emotional roller coaster of your emotions? You're on an emotional roller coaster and you don't know how to get off. I did a previous video on emotions, but today I want to tell you how you can get off this emotional roller coaster, what it will take, and the effort that is required. If that's what you're here for, please continue with me. My name is Ingrid Felton, and thank you as always for visiting my YouTube channel. So the emotional roller coaster is just like it suggests. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. You're up, you're down, you're up, you're down. And if you feel like that on most days, then you realize that you have a problem or there's something that needs fixing, and you may or may not know how to fix that. Many people are not aware of their emotions, and many people that are aware of their emotions, they're blessed, because if you understand the problem, chances are you can fix the problem. One day you may be happy, the next day you may be sad. One day you may have this gusto of energy where you're committed to tackling the task, and the next time you're like, there's no energy, there's nothing, you don't feel up to it, you're sad. And there's a gamut of emotions that you can go through on the emotional roller coaster, but most people are familiar just with the two emotions of being sad or just being angry. But there are a lot of different emotions. So how do you control your emotions? How do you get off this emotional roller coaster? The first thing you need to do is identify the source. What is the emotion you're feeling? Identify the emotion. Is it really sadness? Is it really anger? I found in my profession that most of the times people come to me and they're angry and they identify the emotion of anger, that it's not really anger they're feeling. What they're feeling is masked by the anger. So you can have anger and then you have all these other subtitles or subheadings under the anger, but it's never just anger. Anger is a manifestation of another emotion you're feeling. So you need to identify the emotion. Exercise that I give people is to tell them to write down what they're feeling. Have an emotional journal. Keep an emotional journal. Start identifying your emotion. Start looking for the source of that emotion. Is that emotion a trigger? Is something that was triggered in your past that you're experiencing now in your present? Like, for example, if somebody says a certain word to you, does it immediately raise your tension level and you're like getting angry because it reminds you of a similar situation or a similar circumstance that you may have been involved in? You need to ask these questions, and you need to answer the question. This is your emotion. You need to analyze it. You need to find out why you're feeling the way you're feeling and what is causing you to feel that way. So identifying the source of the emotion is the first thing you need to do. The second thing you need to do once you've identified the emotion is to isolate the emotion, or to go back and trace the steps. Like when, Freud talks a lot about childhood therapy and how a lot of what we experience as an adult happened to us in our childhood. Was it something your mom said to you that triggered this response in you as an adult that makes it viable in your everyday existence? Was it something that you experienced as a child or even as an adult, a young adult in high school or something? You need to be honest. You need to be truthful with yourself. So the first thing is to identify the emotion. The second thing is to identify the source of the emotion. And the third thing is to be honest with yourself. Tell yourself what you're feeling. Don't hide your emotions. Don't hide the feeling that is causing you to have an emotional outburst. Don't hide the feeling, because if you don't explore it and you don't look at it and examine it, what happens is it will keep on manifesting over and over again. And that's when you get to the point where you lose control, where you're like, I'm just angry because, and you don't know why you're angry. And then people start saying, oh, he's just an angry person. I've even heard recently people say, to other people, oh, this is just my face. This is the way I look. If you're an angry bird, I think that something can be done about that. You don't have to be an angry person. It's a choice. You can choose to be angry, or you can choose to figure out the source of your anger. And understand, there are certain emotions that are viable. There are emotions that you will express on a day-to-day basis because that's just life. If you stump your toe, you're going to feel pain. You're going to get angry. Nobody stumps their toe and says, I'm at peace with the universe. I'm at one today. Nobody says that. People that stump their toe, they get angry. They get frustrated. They're in pain. They might even, verbalize some expletives, because that's a normal and natural reaction to the emotion of pain that you're feeling or experiencing that at that moment when you hit your toe. But think about this. How many of your emotions are displaced? How many of your emotions are because you decide to hold stuff in? You decide not to deal with stuff externally. Everything that happens to you is something that you nurse, that you hold on to, and it becomes a part of your character, a part of your personality. Most people who are passive aggressive tend to do that. They tend to hold on to their emotion, and I talked about that in my other video, and they tend not to release the emotion because it's something that feeds them. It's something that gives the emotion of anger more fuel. You're fueling another emotion. You're fueling either fear or you're fueling anger. But the emotion you're feeling may be helplessness. It may be just sheer futility, that you can't do something, whether it's a task or whether it's in a relationship format. It's futility you're feeling. So identify the emotion. There's a list of emotions online, and they have several websites that tell you about the different emotions that you could be experiencing. I suggest you go there. Look at the different emotions. Identify which emotion that you may not have been aware of that you're feeling. And that's where the honesty comes in. If you're honest with how you're feeling, that's the first step to releasing that emotion. That's the first step to addressing the issue. So you're going to identify the source. You're going to isolate the emotion, and then you're actually going to address the emotion, right? You're going to choose to do something about this. What are you going to do about the emotional tirades you're having? What are you going to do about the uncontrollable emotions you're having? The journal helps. The emotional journal helps. If you do it daily, on a daily basis, and you start writing down how you feel, it doesn't start with just writing how you feel. Then you'll find yourself saying, I feel this way because. So then you're identifying the source. And then you say, I'm feeling this way because, and then you can identify the solution. And here's what's going to happen. I choose not to feel this way because I'm no longer a 5-year-old child. I'm no longer the teenager that was bullied. I'm no longer that person that doesn't have a voice. So you do it as a process, and you process yourself through the emotion, and that allows you to relieve the emotion. The other thing that needs to happen is that you need to replace that emotion with a positive emotion. For example, the emotion of anger. Like I said, anger is the heading, and underneath there you have a whole slew of other emotions that are driven and that drive the anger. So what you need to do is figure out the exact emotion. Once you figure out the exact emotion, then you can say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to work on not being this way. I'm going to work on my disappointment. If my boss is not happy with my work and I'm disappointed, I'm frustrated, I'm going to work on that frustration. Instead of feeling frustration in that moment, you have options. You can tell your boss you're frustrated. You can be honest. For those who are passive aggressive, that's a big one. You can be honest with the person that's causing you the frustration, or you can take that frustration and find an outlet for that frustration, but it needs to be replaced with something positive, a positive emotion. Ask yourself, what emotion is positive that can replace the frustration? For me, when I'm frustrated, what I do is I stop. I don't continue doing what I'm doing that is causing me frustration. I take a break. I take 5, take 10, take as many times as you need, because you need to take a break. You don't need to dwell in the frustration and build upon the frustration. You need to stop yourself. And that's part of the emotional roller coaster. You have to know when to get off. I mean, for me that day when I was on that roller coaster, it stopped and I was dying and couldn't wait for the roller coaster to stop. And when it finally came to a stop, The girl was like, oh, I'm sorry, it has to go again. Something malfunctioned. Yikes. I was afraid. I had no control. But there's a lot of things in our life that we have control over. And one of those things is our emotions. You do not have to stay on the emotional roller coaster. You can elect. Like I said, we talk a lot about choice in these different YouTube videos. Choice is something that you can exercise. How you choose to deal with that emotional frustration or the emotional experience you're having is up to you. You don't have to insulate it, and you don't have to isolate it as much as you have to address it. Addressing the emotion and recognizing that it's not outside of yourself. This is you. Nobody can make you behave a certain way. People can push your buttons, but ultimately you choose to respond the way that you do. Nobody forces you to be angry. Nobody forces you to be afraid. Nobody forces you to experience this gamut of emotions that you're feeling. You're the one who has to take control. And I keep on saying that over and over, because a lot of times under the emotional roller coaster, what we tend to do is we tend to cast blame. We blame somebody else for the emotion that we're experiencing. We make excuses for those emotions, refuse to say, you know what, this is me. This is on me. I should not have behaved that way. I don't need to do this. And I apologize. No, it is our stuff. It's not stuff that we should put somewhere else or on somebody else. So taking accountability for your emotion is also necessary. Why would you want somebody else to have control over you? I know you don't. So why do you pretend to give that person control when it suits you? It's time to man up, like they say, or it's time to woman up and admit that you're in control of your emotions. The emotional journal is very helpful, like I said. Taking time out, step away from the issue, understanding why you're feeling the way you're feeling is very key in helping you to deal with the emotion, and recognizing that emotions are something that you can control. They are within your control, regardless of what emotion you're experiencing. It is practice, and practice makes perfect. You have to perfect the art of controlling the emotional roller coaster ride by choosing to get off or not get on. I would start there. You don't have to get on the roller coaster at all. For those of you who are already on the roller coaster, getting off may be a little bit more tricky because it is reliant on somebody else stopping the roller coaster. But let's, for the sake of argument, assume that you're in control. We're going to start with where you bought the ticket. Don't buy the ticket. Don't get on. How many of you are familiar with stop signs and red stoplights? When you come to a red stoplight, you stop. When you come to a stop sign, you stop. If you don't, you can get a traffic ticket. But if we recognize the stop light and the stop signs and we adhere to that, why can't we recognize the stop lights and stop signs in our own life? Before you get angry, there's a buildup. Before something else happens, you can feel it coming. We have to learn to control. We cannot just give in to how we feel. We can't just go with the emotion at the moment. So this is something that you have to practice. It's not something that is going to come overnight. It's not something that is going to be changed overnight. But with constant practice, you're able to improve how you feel and deal with the feelings that you're feeling by not letting the emotion take you over. This is just part one. I mean, emotions, I can talk about emotions all day long. But if you are on the emotional roller coaster, remember, you don't have to stay on and you don't have to get on. My name is Ingrid Felton. Thank you so very much for visiting my YouTube channel as always. I always look forward to having you. If you like the video, please subscribe below. If you have a comment, please leave your comments. I look forward to your comments and feedback because that helps me to improve. And if you want to know more about me and about what I do, please visit my website at thejourneyoftruth.com. Again, I hope that you can get ahead of your emotions by choosing to take control where control is provided. Have a great day.